What's going on YouTube? Wild Lion Games here, and we got Madden 23 review here on the last gen consoles, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And I'm personally just not ready to upgrade consoles right now due to a combination of cost and the lack of games on next gen, but maybe in a year or so. So this review of Madden 23 is for all you old generation console players like me. This is done on the Xbox One through the PC Xbox app. And this review, I'm going to go over graphics, sound, gameplay, presentation, franchise mode, and face of the franchise, plus some of the UI UX updates. I'm not going to be covering the Yard or Madden Ultimate Team, as I really don't play those modes and haven't played them in the previous Madden, so I think that'd be pretty unfair for me to review them. We are going to cover everything else, so let's get into it. Graphics up first. The graphics in Madden 23 look phenomenal. Even on last gen consoles, the game looks like a next gen experience, and not just in the helmets and the unis, but just the details in and around the stadium are incredible. Mile High Stadium looks beautiful, and the nighttime aerial shots of Seattle are absolutely stunning. The reflections off the helmets, all the details inside Jerry World just pop with life and color, and this is the best looking Madden to date, so no surprise here, obviously. I mean, the game has always looked gorgeous. The player models, I think, could use a lot of work, however, as all the linemen have the exact same body type and look like sumo wrestlers. And also, just like, look at this right here. What? And speaking of player models, I mean, has Madden never seen Joey Bosa before? Like, in what universe does Joey Bosa, an edge rusher, look like the same body build as Stephon Diggs? Like, I mean, look at him. Look how skinny his calves are. Look how skinny he's like. That body, like, it looks, that player model looks nothing like Joey Bosa. I mean, the dude looks like just a slightly taller Stephon Diggs. I mean, what? Come on, EA. This is unacceptable from a large company like EA. An individual developer, sure. You know what? We'll give it a pass. But this is Joey Bosa to you. The player models need a lot of work still, and from my understanding, that's across the board on next gen and last gen. And again, I hate to be that guy, but All Pro Football 2K8 somehow has better looking player models. Like, I'm going to say it. It's not perfect. I think their player models are a little on the thin side. But when it comes to the offense and defense alignment, I mean, they just don't look good. Presentation, this isn't even really like a real section in the review. Presentation is the exact same. So if you've played Madden 22, 21, 20, like, you've seen the presentation for this game. You've seen the pregame show. You've seen the halftime show. You've seen the postgame show. You've seen the Super Bowl celebration. It's all the exact same. Gameplay. Unfortunately, gameplay is the exact same on last-gen consoles, as the Xbox One, PS4, and PC are not receiving any of the major updates on the field for Madden 23. And yes, that includes Field Sense, which is that overall, package update of gameplay with like the 360 cutting and the new passing controls. So if you're on Xbox One, PS4, PC like I am, you're not going to get to experience Field Sense and try out the new system in the game, which is really unfortunate, especially for PC players too, I think, because you would think that they would consider PC a next gen, operating system. So I think they've improved the ball physics a tad, which can show for some pretty exciting moments, just like this tipped interception here. And, I like having physics like this that can create the unexpected, because to me it just makes the game that's, it can feel very scripted at times. It makes it more exciting. The offensive line does a nice job forming a pocket that you can step up to in or roll out of. I do think the O-line play has improved from the previous iterations, and so is the run game from the last couple Maddens. But after that, on the field, Madden 23 is the same game you've been playing for the last 3 years. And I'm tired of not seeing true gang tackling in this game. And if I sound monotone, it's really just because I'm defeated right now. Why is it that we're at this point in 2022 where we can't have more than 2 players tackle the ball carrier? And even when it is 2 players, the other defender kind of slides off. So it's really like 1.5 guys on there bringing them down. We don't have true gang tackling is what I'm getting at. I'm tired of seeing the same animations of players jumping to the side at collisions. And it happens all the time. I'm tired of seeing the two linebackers do the same animation before the snap over and over and over again. And I'm just tired of seeing Madden prioritize animations over physics, and I'm just tired of reviewing this game. I really am. I hate not liking Madden. I come in every year wanting to like it, and every time I step away disappointed. And I know physics-based football games like Backbreaker and Football Simulator can look downright silly at times and not be very polished on the surface, but what I enjoy about those games is I know what's happening on the field is a result of the physics systems and not an animation prioritized system. And I say it that way because I know that all games have physics, and I know Madden uses physics, and in order to have player collisions, you need to have a physics system in the game. But Madden is prioritizing the animations first so that when two players do interact, it's going to play out a pre-canned animation from a list of animations it can pull from. Honestly, I think until Madden can find a way to put the physics at the forefront when it comes to players colliding with each other, I don't know if we're ever going to see the gameplay improvements the way we want to see them. I know all games, like I said, have physics in order to collide, but I would like to see players' height, weight, speed, strength, angle all come into factor when they collide with each other. And Backbreaker does that. It can come off as ragdollish, and there's a major problem in the run game where if you touch no lineman, you just fall over, and that can be extremely annoying. But when the Euphoria engine works, it feels and looks amazing. In Madden, it's just tough because I still feel like I never have true control over the outcomes because there's so many instances where players on the field stop moving, DBs stop running towards the receiver to either break up a pass, which then results in the receiver able to make the catch. You have linebackers looking away from the hole instead of running through the hole. And here's a great example with James Robinson not scoring on the goal line. I mean, in what world does James Robinson not plow into the end zone here? But in Madden, the collisions are relying on animations, so the animation that's triggered is for James Robinson to kind of fall towards his left, to his right instead of forward, and it's just disappointing, and it's sad to see. Franchise mode. So franchise mode boasted a lot of changes this year, and we do get to see this in the last gen console. So I know all the stuff on the field didn't carry over, or I guess fall back to the last gen, but we do get to see the off-field changes with the all-new scouting system, new contracts, better trade logic, draft day, and the weekly game plan makes a comeback, although the weekly game plan has not been touched. And if you don't believe me, look at this real quick. Highly recommend that you take the time to actually look at the scouting report and do your own strategy, because the game, like Madden, it's just going to give you the same recommendation every week. Like you see here, week 1, outside run. Week 2, outside run. Week 3, outside run. It's the same recommendation every single week, even though when you go and look at the play calling tendencies for each of those teams, they're all different. So that was my Madden 22 game plan complaint when they added game planning in, right? And then here in Madden 23, is the exact, so you just get the same recommendation. So then we have scouting, which I have mixed feelings on, as I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, but it also seems unfinished and shallow. And shallow is a theme here across the game and within franchise mode with all their new changes, because all the new features never really go that deep. So, like I said, the weekly game plan, it's nice, but I don't know how much it actually helps on the field. And the weekly goals don't make any sense and don't relate to your game plan. And they're also in a completely different menu system, which I'll get to later. And the skill tree for your coaching staff also remains unchanged from 22. But you want to hear about scouting. And scouting is great until you realize you can't do much with it. You start off assigning scouts to different regions. Each region has a draft class, or has strengths and weaknesses within the draft class, and you can assign your scout to different regions based on the scout's strengths and weaknesses. So if you have a scout who's really good at picking out middle linebackers, or maybe he's really good at picking out receivers, and the central region of the U.S. is really strong draft class, or really strong receivers in the draft class, you can send your scout there. And that's, I think, a really great concept. There's also no ability to create a draft board. All you can do is favorite prospects, and then they're added to a favorites list. And you can't actually like create a board and organize it, and you also can't sort through prospects. So maybe you're trying to go through and find, a corner with, who's the fastest corner available, right? And there's no way to go through and actually sort by like 40-yard dash times once you get to the combine and NFL draft. And I that's just, how do you not have the ability to sort players through speed or strength or height or whatever metric you want to use to build your team? As you progress throughout the year, your scouts move away from the regions and start focusing on individual position groups within that region, and then eventually individual players in that region. So theoretically, this system makes a ton of sense, as you would start, by casting a wide net over a region, and then, you start focusing down on a few positions, and then start focusing down on some different players at each stage. And at each stage, you should be learning more about the players. But honestly, after the initial setup of scouts being assigned to regions in week 1, and then also in week 3 when you start assigning them to positions, like, there doesn't really seem to be a real reason to keep paying attention again until draft day. This new scouting system honestly comes across as like they put it up on the drawing board one day in a meeting and then decided that the first draft was good enough for the game. And then there's the UX, and my God, the UX is awful. So quick lesson here, UI and UX, you might often hear them interchangeably in sentences about gaming menus or app design and such, and things like that. And they are different, but they work hand in hand. So just for you guys to know, the UX stands for user experience. It's basically what's going on in the back end. UI refers to the visual elements and the branding assets. So that's the stuff like color scheme and all the different shapes you see. So I think Madden's UI is really nice in 23. It's a big improvement over the previous iterations, and it's cleaner, easier to read, nice color scheme, all that good stuff. So like I said, the UX is the user experience, which is all the stuff going on in the background, and the UX is atrocious. Constantly having to navigate back and forth between menus is painfully slow. I'm tired of these 2-second animations having to play out anytime I want to switch menus, having to leave the map to view my scouts, to then exit back out again to view prospects, and then have to enter a different menu within prospects to see the list, and then exit back out to have to change regions. And it's just, all the switching back and forth is a headache. It takes forever. Also, trying to find your weekly goals is tough because it's not even in the game plan tab. Like, why wouldn't you set your goals in the same menu as your game plan? Because when you create your game plan for the week and you're done, you should then be basing your goals off of your game plan. So if your game plan is to prep for the inside run and stopping that, then your goal on defense for that week should reflect that. And instead, you just get a list of the same generic game plan option or goals every week. And so in Madden, they just don't really take that into consideration. So again, it looks great on the surface, but once you actually dive into it and start using it, you realize how shallow it really is. Face of the franchise. So I know I dogged this mode in a previous video when the news came out that you start as a 5th-year player, but I have to say, I think this is actually the best face of the franchise mode that they've made outside of that factor. The 5th-year starting point is really annoying. I think it takes away the player controlled career path, but you do get on the field and playing within 30 minutes, which I love. There's a few cutscenes, but they're not long, and it's not the hours and hours of just boring storyline and cringy relationships. And instead, you just pick a team to sign with, and they all have various pros and cons, like how much the salary is, how much rep and credit you'll earn for each game, whether or not you're a good scheme fit. And I think that's really nice. I love it, but I also don't know why we can't do that as an undrafted free agent. If Madden wants this face of the franchise to be like a comeback story, why can't our comeback story start as an undrafted rookie free agent? Like, we didn't get picked up. Maybe we didn't play a whole lot in college or went to a small school, didn't get drafted. And so then now we do this whole same contract deal, but as a rookie. So we actually get to control our NFL career from our rookie starting point instead of controlling it once we're in our 5th year. The weekly activities is also a nice addition, and I'd love to see more variance in the future in customization. In NCAA 2007, I remember your actions kind of had some pros and cons, like each had a benefit over one or the other, and if you go out and party with friends, your campus legend status rises, but your grades may suffer. And I'd like to see Madden get to that, because what happens is on the same day, you're really just picking variations of the same outcome. So when you're picking a side activity on one day, it could just be different, defenses you're trying to read. You're watching film, and then the next day you have these different workouts you can choose from. The next day you have these different, you're doing a TikTok dance, or you're calling somebody out on Twitter or whatever, right? So I think what I would like to see, just to give the player a little bit more to think about, is having all of those options on the same day, so that when it comes to like a Monday, it's like, hey, are you going to spend your Monday on Twitter and relaxing and, being really popular and getting followers? Or are you going to spend it in the weight room getting stronger? Or are you going to be spending it studying film to increase your awareness, right? So in a way, every decision then has its pros and cons, because you're trying to decide what's more important to you. It's kind of like the NCAA games. Like, you have the option of going out with friends, studying, or getting an extra practice in. The extra practice is going to make you better on the field. The studies is going to give you answers on the test. And going out is going to make you popular, which fills your campus legend meter. So during the week, like, Tuesday comes around. Are you going to be doing like a recovery thing to increase your stamina? Are you going to be doing a community outreach event? Are you going to be weightlifting? Are you just going to take the day off? I think you need to have the variety of options are spread out throughout the week right now. And I would like to see them all in the same day to force the player to choose how they're going to spend their day. So that's my review of Madden 23. And as you guys know, I rate my games on a made-up scale with a witty comparison. So how do I rate this game? I rate Madden 23 Joe Flacco. At one point early in his career, Joe Flacco was a promising young quarterback. He even won a Super Bowl in 2012 and then got a pretty healthy contract extension immediately after that. But since then, Joe Flacco's kind of been less than stellar, right? We don't hear about him. His game has regressed severely over the years. And the Ravens have, eventually moved on to bigger and better things with Lamar Jackson. And, Joe Flacco's with the Jets now. So Madden 23 was once a great game and even worthy of a Super Bowl in sports video games if like such award existed. It really hasn't been much in the last 9 years, and I think us gamers are now at that point where we're waiting for our Lamar Jackson to come through. We're waiting for that new football game to come around, and what we hoped Madden was going to be turned out not to be over the last decade. The game is boring now. And just like Joe Flacco, sorry, man, Madden 23 is a shell of what it used to be. The new features that it brings to the table don't offer much, and right now I think no matter what EA does, I think gamers are just kind of ready for the next thing. Just like the Ravens, The Ravens at one point, they were like, hey, you know what, we're ready to move on to the next guy, and that's just the name of the game. So that's my review for Madden 23. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you want. And I'll have more content out coming soon. But until next time, peace.